YouTube Go in the Goat House is back. We're ranking interior defensive linemen today, top 32. A lot of good players left off this list because there's a lot of good interior defensive linemen in football these days. We're on to defense. We ranked all the offensive position groups. Now we're on to defense, of course. So next will be edge rushers, linebackers, corners, and so on. So we're really excited about that. Season's kind of getting close now. I kind of starting to get that feeling like football's almost back. So really excited. Full NFL coverage here. Join us, like, subscribe to notifications. I mean, much appreciated. Follow us on Twitter. A lot of content on there. Super follows available on there as well. A lot of you signing up for that. Appreciate you very much. Here's our Twitter. Asked you guys to kind of play along, rank these 6 defensive tackles for this upcoming season based on how you think they'll play this upcoming season. Super followers been getting the bonus rankings with all these this week. For this one, they will get at some point this week. I'm going to rank the kind of the best of the rest here because there's a lot of good guys that I left off this list. It was actually tough doing it because there's so many good interior defensive linemen, but top 32 for this upcoming season. I got B.J. Hill at 32, which I love that trade for the Bengals when they did it. Low risk, potential high reward because he had some upside. I still believed he had some upside, and he had even more than I thought maybe because he played an incredible season last year. And yeah, it's tough. Could he repeat that? Because we haven't seen a whole lot of it, but the Bengals do such a good job coaching up those guys, especially on the defensive line. Great job calling that defense. Great job developing, game planning, all of the above there. And then OGUNJOBI's gone, so maybe some more snaps for Hill perhaps. So I got him in the top 32. Poona Ford at 31. Maybe not the flashiest guy. Nose tackle. There's some nose tackles that made this list. Obviously, we're looking at nose tackles, 3-4 ends, and defensive tackles from either scheme, or including the interior defensive line video here. But Poona Ford, yeah, just a pure run stuffer. You're not going to see him too much getting after the quarterback, but one of the better run stuffers in football. Been impressed with him. Dre'Mont Jones at 30. He kind of took a step up last year, like his ability to kind of get after the quarterback. I think we can see a little bit more of it this year. I think a good mix of where he can move around that defensive line a little bit. So we won't see him at nose tackle, obviously, but could take another step this year, I could say here. So Broncos defensive lineman Dre'Mont Jones, who's kind of been more of that 3-4 end, comes in at 30. Another nose tackle, Commanders nose tackle Daron Payne, who's kind of been linked in trade talks a little bit because it doesn't sound like the Commanders want to extend him, but they let Tim Settle go. They bring in Mathis. So could they be moving on from Payne? Is he going to play less if he's on the team? I don't think so, but it's interesting. But it's a very solid young nose tackle. Can stop the run at a pretty high level. Seems to be adding a little bit more interior pressure to his game. So another nose tackle on the list here. Next group of guys, Greg Gaines actually had a pretty good year last year. And before that wasn't really on anyone's radar. But another nose tackle, actually. So quite a few nose tackles made this list. Does a great job stopping a run. Was getting some pressure on the quarterback. Having Aaron Donald next year definitely helps. Derek Brown, kind of waiting for him to break out. Was a very high pick. It felt like a pro-ready guy coming out of Auburn, but haven't seen a whole lot of him. Panthers defense pretty balanced, though, where guys kind of feed off each other. It's not like one guy standing out big time. So it's kind of that'll happen, balance, on a balanced defense. They could do a little better job stopping a run. That's where Derek Brown comes in. I think he steps up a little bit this year. Maybe Ed Oliver could step up. Been a little inconsistent. I thought got going last year production-wise. And he was kind of a raw prospect coming out of Houston because he was playing out of position. They kind of had him playing nose tackle, and you can see really by his body type and play style that he is not a nose tackle, so kind of fitting in a better role with the Buffalo Bills. So it kind of makes sense that he's kind of just taken off now. That actually makes a lot of sense. Akeem Hicks at 25. Tough one to rank because Akeem Hicks talent-wise way better than 25. You just know he's going to miss games. He'll take a breather some weeks, and that's okay when it's with the Buccaneers because they'll make sure he's ready for the playoffs, and he's a big-time impact player in big-time games. So it's just a really good pickup. It's just tough to really rank him high because what makes up the season, when ranking players and, how they played, most of the regular season makes that up. So that's the tough part about ranking guys like that. Next group of guys here, Larry OGUNJOBI, who was on the Bengals, now on the Steelers. Actually, the Bears tried to sign him right away when free agency started out. A big contract, $13.5 million. He failed his physical because of an injured foot. Checked out with the Steelers. The Steelers will get him going. Could take because he's played a lot of 3 techniques. So in the Steelers defense, could he take Stephon Tuitt's role? Steelers will have him balling. Is he 100%? That's kind of what you got to worry about. But he had a really good year last year. Really broke out of nowhere as well. So something with that Bengals coaching staff and defensive line making guys better than expected. So take him away from that. Is he as good? It's the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, though, so you have to think so, perhaps. Broncos free agent addition, DJ Jones on our nose tackle, just dominant stopping a run. You're not going to see him get after the quarterback a whole lot, so he's not super flashy, but really, really good stopping a run. I guess the tough part with him is so many of these Niners guys, they make these guys look good out of nowhere, like DJ Jones coming out of nowhere, and then they go somewhere else for like a year. They don't end up working out, and they end up, a lot of time they go back to the 49ers too. So I don't think that's the case. DJ Jones, young, talented. I mean, just end of the day, he can stop the run. That's what he does. So, but I'm curious because that's happened a lot with a lot of these 49ers defensive linemen. I've noticed. Dalvin Tomlinson, the Vikings defensive tackle, which I like, could play defensive tackle or nose tackle. They had him and Pierce barely played last year, but now they got Harrison Phillips in there, so they kind of interchangeable. So I like that. Tomlinson did a pretty good job getting after quarterback here and there last year. So I like that part of his game because before he was kind of just a pure run stopper, but that's because they're playing him more D tackle. So we'll see where they play him. I think they'll continue to play him at D tackle, even though it's a different staff. Another nose tackle that also can play D tackle, Jordan Davis, a rookie, the big dog from the Georgia Bulldogs here. I got him at 21, even though he hasn't played, but we're predicting this upcoming season. I think he's going to do. I think day one he's going to be one of the better run stoppers. When it comes to interior guys in football. So I don't know if we'll get a whole lot of pass rush productivity, but I mean, he is going to stop the run at an extremely high level right out the gate. It's like one of those where you don't really need to develop that. You kind of have it or you don't. Jordan Davis definitely has it. So what I'm looking, because with the movement skills he has, in the length, with that power that we know about, NFL guys really want to work with him. He's drafted high because, what more can we get besides, we know he's going to stop the run. What more can we get? So over time here, that's where he's kind of raw. I want to see where he can get to in terms of rushing the passer. If they can use those traits, get more out of him, because then he can be the very best in football when it comes to a ranking system or a ranking list like this here. So excited about Jordan Davis. Quite a few Eagles on this list here. There's 2 on this slide. Dexter Lawrence at 20. Yeah, it was kind of like a Jordan Davis guy coming out. Like, you know what you're going to get. This guy's going to stop the run at a high level. Looking for, seeing a few years down the line if he can kind of get after the quarterback a little more. Starting to do that a little bit. Hoping to take the next step up this year. I like the upside of Dexter Lawrence here. Fletcher Cox has definitely declined a bit. On the Eagles. He was elite for quite a bit, but yeah, definitely declined. And he's got guys to split with him. It sounds like one more year at Philadelphia, so he comes at 19. J.J. Watt maybe declined a little bit. I still think the talent's there, but we didn't see a whole lot from him early last year, but then got injured. And that's the problem with ranking J.J. Watt. It's just like, you hate to say it, but it's at this point, it's like, is he going to play every game? Like, we know, him being one of the better 3-4 defensive ends that we've seen ever. He's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to get some good pass rush. He's pretty good stopping the run as well for a 3-4 end guy. So is he going to play every game? How much production compared to the past? It's a tough one in ranks. I got him at 18. Javon Hargrave had a breakout year last year. A guy that can play that nose position and the D tackle position, which is great for Jordan Davis. They're kind of, we're going to have one here, one there, switch them up. We can do anything with them, really. But Hargrave did a pretty good job getting after the quarterback. He was insane to start the year. I think he kind of came back down to earth a little bit as the year went on, which is a very good football player. That's Hargrave, because early in the year, just the very first quarter of the year, it was like, all right, this is one of the better defensive players in football this year. So he was going a little crazy. That defense line just so good. They got rotation. They got great starters. So really looking forward to watching that Eagles defensive line when it comes to the whole defensive line. Even defensive ends and the rotation guys. So yeah, that's a team to watch. That's a unit to watch. Next up, Danico Autry at 16. He had a stellar season last year. Tough to predict if we'll get a repeat on that, because he was better than 16 based on what he played last year. We just haven't seen that. He was solid when he was on the Colts, but we haven't seen that Danico Autry. Maybe because it's a little bit different, definitely a different scheme going from Indianapolis to Tennessee. So maybe he just fits there a little bit better. That's a confusing defense to game plan for, to deal with pre-snap, so maybe that opened things up for Autry. But he was getting his hands on the ball a lot. He had production getting after the quarterback. He almost could line up outside the tackle, as an edge guy sometimes, but mainly an interior player, just inside the tackle or over the tackle. But very impressive last year. I mean, that was kind of came out of nowhere. So it was a big reason why Tennessee's defense was so good. Guys like Autry and Simmons, who are included in this video. Quinn Williams at 15, a little inconsistent. It probably expected because he was such a good prospect. Expected a little bit more by now, but he gets production. He gets after the quarterback. He knows how to get that interior pressure. It's a little inconsistent, has some sloppy play here and there. Maybe could read a little bit better where the ball's going for a guy. He's kind of just a high motor guy. He'll get off the snap and go get that quarterback, even if it's a run play. And he could stop the run, don't get me wrong. But got him at 15. Loads of upside still. Loads of upside. There's a lot of talent, especially more talent now on that Jets defensive line. Could that help him even further? DJ Reader, definitely one of the better true nose tackles in football. We saw that mainly on display, throughout the whole year, but the playoffs, ridiculous. I mean, that guy made his money here. I mean, he already got his money before that, but he really made his money last year, like down in the big games, down the stretch in the playoffs. Just a dominant run stopper there, which the Bengals were very good at, obviously. So he comes in at 14. We probably wouldn't have ranked him near here before last year. Eric Armstead at 13. I thought he played his best season, maybe that Super Bowl year. But still a key piece to the 49ers because he plays a little bit. You could put him with the edge rushers because he plays defensive end at times as well. I think most of the snaps are interior-wise, B gap, just a hair outside, or over. Maybe you'll see him, kind of like we were talking about Danico Autry, just over the tackle, the hair inside. So really could do it all. So it's kind of a key piece for the 49ers to be able to do different things to line up Armstead. So very important to them. Expected maybe a little bit more these last couple years for him. But a very talented player, kind of a game plan or pre-snap problem, another one of those guys. So Armstead at number 13. We're on the top 12. David Onyemata, we get him full season now, we hope at least, because he was suspended for a portion last year. One of the more underrated players, and we're talking about defensive players, one of the more underrated. Very good at stopping the run, very good at getting interior pressure. A guy you can pretty much line up at, D tackle, nose tackle if you wanted to as well. So the Saints will love to have him full time this year because they're missing him a little bit last year. We see these impact plays at the right moments for Onyemata. That's a guy, not really a huge name guy, but he's very talented, a huge important piece to that Saints defense, especially down the middle there on that defensive side. Christian Wilkins, who really stepped up last year with a tackle machine. Starting to get a little more interior pressure as well, but we know how good he is. Find the ball carrier and just getting after him. So I think it takes a little bit more of a step up this year, maybe getting after quarterback. So I got him at 11. So that's one for the future as well. Leonard Williams, I thought played better 2 years ago than last year, but still productive, still impressive. He's a 3-4 end that will get after the quarterback, obviously. So a top 10 guy for me, even though, 2 years ago, he felt like, based off that year, was that 2020? Based off that year alone, easily in the top 10, just that year alone. So maybe we can get more of that Leonard Williams there. We know he has it in him. So I'm excited to watch him in that Don Martindale defense. Kenny Clark at number 9, a guy that can play nose tackle or D tackle. A very good run stopper. I've seen him with clothesline so many guys. Like, he's not getting by his arm, not even his body, his arm. Gets interior pressure as well. Again, you can move him around a bit, so I do like that. The Packers getting more serious about adding that defense, very much more serious about adding that defense, getting him some help. And it looks like they did that. So a guy like Devontae Wyatt, who just missed this list, a rookie, and they had Jaron Reed, another guy that just missed this list. Some really good guys out there that just missed this list. Definitely could help Kenny Clark here be even more productive. So he finds his way in the top 10. Next, top 8, Jonathan Allen, who was productive getting after the quarterback last year. A guy that, if he played for a 3-4 team, he'd play 3-4 end. He'd probably be more productive off the edge. He probably can play. If the Commanders had to, they probably can line him up at the defensive end spot. But you see him inside, but 3 technique, lining up all over there, getting after the quarterback. So impressive year last season. This is a guy I could see kind of getting better too, because he was a big time prospect coming out. of Bama, but then all of a sudden there's that injury concern. It was like, what's he going to be right away? But now we're starting to get him here. Grady Jarrett, who could be a lot better than what he's been. He hasn't really had help because Grady Jarrett is a stud. He faces a lot of double teams. I think he's equally effective stopping a run at a high level and getting after the quarterback as well. They had Eddie Goldman, which if he's on the field, that's some more help than what the Falcons have had. So maybe that can boost Grady Jarrett. Because Grady, I've seen the flashes. I mean, there's been some years where it's like, oh, that guy's elite. Yeah, there's been some years. I think the last couple, it's like you only get the flashes, on the good games for the Falcons defense, here and there. But if we kind of get that full time, it's not. I don't think it's Grady Jarrett's fault. I think they just need more help on there, more pass rush. Another guy on the inside nose tackle needs to be better. Which again, they may have done that this offseason. We'll see. But if we get that more consistently, it's not out of the picture for Jarrett to be like in that next tier behind Aaron Donald, like maybe the number 2 guy. So, and spoiler, who number 1 is there. So Jarrett could be better, and it's not really his fault. Vita Vea, I have as the top-ranked nose tackle in football here, and coming at number 6 because he's just getting better. Last year we saw it 2 years ago. He had the injury. That's right, and then we knew. I think it was more we knew what he's got in him, because he was drafted very, very high, and this past year, man, he really took off. He is an elite run stopper, elite, not getting by Vita Vea, and the way he collapses pockets, too. He's not going to get sacks. He's not going to get too many sacks. Doesn't really need to. The way he collapses and disrupts the pocket, basically with raw power, is ridiculous. And how much the amount he took it up, and surprised us, because we knew he was talented, so it's not super surprising, but and that kind of tells us he can kind of continue to do that and continue to get even better, which is scary. So I put Vita Vea at 6. DeForest Buckner at 5 has been very, very consistent at the top 5 here. Another one of those guys that's like borderline elite. I don't know if anyone calls Buckner elite. It's probably Donald's fault. I think there's a really good defensive tackle. I think the only one that's really consistently being called elite is Aaron Donald, but these other guys, or either elite or borderline here. But Buckner has turned out to be a very good trade for the Colts because they're always pretty sound, stopping the run, and getting after the quarterback. Even when they haven't had the best edge presence, now they may. Buckner is still able to produce there. So he comes in at 5. We're on the top 4 in a second. A reminder that super followers are available. Super Follow is available now on Twitter. It's exclusive bonus content. I've been doing bonus rankings with all these videos. Usually right after the video goes up, I get to it, but I'm going to have to get to it at some point this week for this one, and that'll be the best of the rest. Javon Kinlaw, Jaron Reed, rookie, Devontae Wyatt, John Franklin Myers, guys like that. The Ravens guys. Ravens have a balanced group. Is the one that really stands out big time. So there's a lot of guys to rank still. There's a lot of really good players. Top 4, I got Cam Hayward at 4, who had another stellar season last year. You think he's going to take a step down, and no, he does not. Just across the board, effective, disrupting the run and the pass. Him and TJ Watt, they just show up in the most perfect times. It's ridiculous. So we're kind of waiting for Hayward to take a step down. We don't want to see it. Is it going to happen? It just hasn't really happened. So you kind of think he's still going to be a top 5 guy here. Chris Jones at number 3. They started last year playing Chris Jones out of position. I don't really mind the trial run because they were, really you blame the Chiefs because he should have freaking went out and got some more actual edge rushers, defensive ends. But I don't really blame him because Chris Jones is that good of a player. Maybe he just doesn't have quite the twitchiness of the defensive ends there. So then they put him back inside, and he was causing more and more of a ruckus as it went on. But yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy getting after the quarterback, the impact plays that he makes, and he's only getting better as well. There's some seasons he had recently that you consider elite. I put Jeffrey Simmons at 2 for this upcoming year. Jeffrey Simmons broke out big time last year, was an animal. See him in that Bengals game, the playoff game, but all year he was doing this thing against the Chiefs. He was a problem. Stop and run, getting after the quarterback. Can't really figure out which one he's better at because he's so damn good at both. You can line him up at anywhere on that defensive line, really. And when he was coming out of Mississippi State, he was known as actually an elite prospect. But then he had that injury, and there was a little bit off the field concern on top of it. So that kind of took him off everyone's top tier radar. And pushed him back, and who was going to take a chance? This guy, the Titans take a chance. And I think everybody forgot that take away the risks, where was his talent at? He was an elite prospect. He really was. And so now it's like, okay, this kind of makes sense here on how Jeffrey Simmons was that good, last year. So he's only getting going. He's only getting going. He stepped up that much last year. He's going to step up that much more this year. Tackle for loss machine, disruptor, facing the double teams. He's so good at collapsing that pocket. Can't really get by him in the run game. So I put Jeffrey Simmons at 2. I think if there's anyone that's going to potentially, almost looks impossible, potentially have the chance to get to a point to be in the Aaron Donald conversation, I think the best shot is Jeffrey Simmons. Chris Jones could still get better, and he was kind of considered 2 for a bit. Cam Hayward maybe played like a 2 last year. Cam Hayward's as good as he's going to be, which is perfectly good enough and considered elite, in my mind at least. But it's like, who could be Aaron Donald or the closest thing to him? Because probably no one's going to be him. And I'd say Jeffrey Simmons here, what he did last year and what he can do this year. Then Aaron Donald at number 1 there. A guy that can be, he could be an edge rusher as well. He gets as many sacks as an edge rusher, but see him playing 3-4 end, you see him playing D tackle. They pretty much line him up wherever they need him most. Or wherever they want to take on that, hey, we want these guys to double. We want these offensive linemen to double. Okay, we can put Aaron Donald over there. So it's just usually those guys. There's a lot of those guys that I love. Guys that are underrated. Those like presence guys that make everyone else better. And I love those guys because they underappreciated. They're underrated. And the problem is they don't get a lot of production. Well, Aaron Donald is one of those guys that also gets in absurd production at the same time. So that's the beauty of what makes Aaron Donald so freaking good. And it was good to see him get that Super Bowl victory. I make the game-winning play, basically. Just a big-time problem for opposing offenses there. So I don't think anyone's got anyone other than Aaron Donald at number 1. I don't know. This is my opinion there, but I think that's the case. There's a lot of good guys. We didn't, again, because we're talking interior defensive line. We talked 3-4 ends. We talked 3-4 nose tackles, D tackles, 4-3 nose tackles, 4-3 D tackles. So there's a lot of starters out there. There's a lot of good backups as well, and we're just picking out the 32 best. So if you didn't see your guy in here, it doesn't mean I don't think he's good or not even close, anything like that. So a lot of talented players here. These are big positions too. I think interior pressure is an absolute game changer, game wrecker, absolute game wrecker if you can get it, and not too many teams really, even though there's a lot of good guys like this, I think it's more of a scheme coaching thing. Not a lot of teams consistently get it. So that, I do think that's more of a coaching thing, but yeah, big, this is a big video because these are some key impact players here. That's going to wrap it up, though. Again, we got super follows available on Twitter with exclusive content. We also have just for everyone on Twitter, news, rumors, updates, always talking with you guys, interacting with you guys there. More to come. Full NFL coverage here on the channel. Much appreciated if you can join us. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.